Historian Julius Scott has a new book out called The Common Wind. It shows how enslaved people in the Caribbean secretly communicated with each other to resist and sometimes even escape their captors. It's an untold aspect of slavery, and it's made The Common Wind academia's trendiest read. But the book isn't actually new. Scott wrote it as his PhD dissertation in 1986.
The first place that I submitted it to returned it and said, it's a pretty nice dissertation, but we're not really interested in publishing it. We think it's too narrow and specialized. My view at the time was that I was going to return to it. I just never did. I just wasn't sure that it was quite good enough to be a book yet. People say this to me all the time. You're a perfectionist. When people use that term, it sounds like a compliment, but it's really kind of a critique. The idea of my being a perfectionist meant that I would never let go of this dissertation. Even now, I don't really necessarily believe that what is going to come out as The Common Wind is like perfect.
While the manuscript sat unpublished, its legend grew, like a particularly hot academic mixtape. Photocopies and PDFs were passed around to readers, including historian Marcus Rediker.
The Common Wind had an extraordinary underground life, even though, or I should say, especially because it was unpublished. It was not altogether easy to get a hold of, but that became part of its mystique and part of its power.
At the heart of Scott's book is the Haitian Revolution of the 1790s, when enslaved Africans successfully revolted against the French, ultimately making Haiti the first country to be founded by formerly enslaved people. What Scott found was that even though enslaved people in the Caribbean were oppressed and seemingly isolated, they often knew more about what was happening than their enslavers did.
The ways in which word, news, information, rumors, half-truths traveled from place to place, and the role that people of African descent played in that process is really what it's about. There were a lot of little specks where people tried to establish for themselves a little bit more mobility and sometimes were able to grasp some freedom.
So how did Scott finally make it into bookstores? In 2015, a Verso editor asked Rediker what he'd recommend publishing, and he said The Common Wind.
It was, to my mind, perfectly appropriate that the reputation of The Common Wind was built by word of mouth, by conversation, by people spreading the news, which was a perfect parallel to the story Julius Scott was telling about how the word of the Haitian Revolution was actually spread. By word of mouth, by whispering on the lower decks of a ship, people talking about something that they considered to be urgently important. The reaction of historians in a great many fields, now that they know the book has been published, their reaction has been joy. Joy, I mean, people are delighted.